This, this computer. We're going to be talking about the worst and best films of October, and then, as Alex Meyer said, he's going to go over the Watch Mojo's horror films of the decade so far. Man, oh man, I got a lot of shit to talk about the worst films tonight. And unfortunately, Sammy won't be joining us tonight because he's at a movie screening of. Oh boy. Oh boy. Technical issues, folks. Technical issues. Do apologize for this. Sammy won't be joining us tonight because he went to the screening. He said he's going to be at a screening of Doctor Strange, which I just saw Doctor Strange. My review of it will be coming on Friday. Can't wait to tell you guys all about it. Folks, I do apologize again for the technical issues. It's Google that's like doing all this tonight.
Hi, I'm back. My computer froze on me again.
Oh boy. Well, at least you're back.
We're moving on to our worst of October. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You should go first. And I already told the people what we're going to be doing. What we're going to be doing first.
Right, I did hear that. It's after that my computer froze out on me. So, okay. So now I did not see many bad movies in October, thank the Lord. You know, my worst film of October, I was hoping I could maybe find this a guilty pleasure, even though it was getting tons of bad reviews, but oh my god, this movie was boring as hell.
I know what it is.
Keeping Up with the Joneses. Okay, so there isn't really anything like as outright offensive in it as like The Boss or How to Be Single or The Brothers Grimsby or Dirty Grandpa. Or Mastermind. God. It's not as bad. There's no diarrhea pool scene like there is in Masterminds, thankfully. But oh god, this movie, it has an interest. Keeping Up with the Joneses has an interesting concept, but it's just so boring. It feels like 3 hours instead of 100 or 110 minutes, however long the movie was.
And you know what the sad thing is? This is directed by Greg Mottola, who brought us Superbad and Paul.
Yeah, but so the story of this movie is Zach Galifianakis and Isla Fisher play this suburban couple who have these new neighbors moving next door, the Joneses, played by John Hamm and Gal Gadot. And these like Joneses, they're like they're like so perfect that it drives them crazy. And they find out while breaking into their house just to see how perfect they really are. They're determined to find like one thing that they're not good at. They discover that they're government spies,
Oh God.
and of course they're trying to stop this bad guy. And because they now know who they are, they get roped into this to stop the bad guy, and it just becomes every action cliche. There's cliche chase scenes, cliche. It's just so cliche. It just becomes so boring. And even scenes that should be funny, like when Isla Fisher follows Gal Gadot to the mall and she catches her trying on lingerie, and it becomes a whole thing about trying on lingerie. Even that's
Oh
not
God.
funny.
No.
I mean, Gal Gadot. Yeah. And then and then we have and then the villain in this movie, I guess you could say, this is one of the most wasted characters of all year. How can they waste Patton Oswalt like this?
I have no clue, and I mostly blame this on the script writers, in my opinion.
I mean, I mean, Patton Oswalt. He hasn't had a very good year because if you don't if people aren't aware of this, his wife passed away earlier this year.
I'm really sorry to hear about this.
Yeah, and they let so his wife died earlier this year, and I'm guessing he probably filmed this movie before she died, but for his wife to die and then for him to be in a movie like this that gets really bad reviews and his role is wasted, man, this is just not a good year for him at all. Well, he did win an Emmy earlier this year for this comedy special he had or something, so that's good for him. But man, you can't waste someone like Patton Oswalt. He was the star of Ratatouille, for God's sake. He voiced Remy in Ratatouille.
I know. Just why? Why would you waste Patton Oswalt like that?
Yeah, I don't know. So shame on you, Greg Matola, for wasting Patton Oswalt like this. You get the big wagging finger of shame. This is me
Yeah,
playing
Greg,
school teacher right now.
I hope your next movie. I hope your next movie is better than this, because this is by far your worst movie you've ever done.
Yeah, and it just and then the ending to this movie, it's like uh, it's just it's just so dumb how they end this movie. It's like I wouldn't necessarily say it's like sequel bait, but you're thinking to yourself, really, they couldn't come up with a better ending than this?
What the hell?
I mean, I like there really isn't much more for me to say because unlike this wasn't necessarily a movie where like every scene left me with like a raging anger like The Boss or Dirty Grandpa or The Brothers Grimsby did, but this movie just it was one of those movies where I was just more concerned with actually staying awake throughout the movie. But because there wasn't anything really remotely offensive, I can't say this movie is one of the top 5 worst movies of the year, but it's certainly one of the most boring of the year. And I'd say, the actors all do their best with the terrible script that they have to work with. Like their performances are actually somewhat good. I do think Zach Galifianakis is way better here than he is in Masterminds, and I did think John Hamm was the funniest character in the movie, but I just there's no just the I don't blame the actors for this. I blame the writer and the director because
Same here.
they really dropped the ball here. I give this movie a 3 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Now
Okay.
on now on to your worst.
All right. Oh man, this month of October was a disaster. Just an absolute disaster. I have so many dishonorable mentions before we get to my three this October. Um, my first one. This was a movie I was really looking forward to, mainly because of the actor and director who teamed up with each other with The Last Samurai. But what happened here? It's Jack Reacher, Never Go Back.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen either of the Jack Reacher movies.
The first one's good. I mean, is it a great movie? No. But did I have a lot of fun with it? Yes. I would give it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah,
This sequel though, it's just they really dropped the ball on this one.
yeah. Just is it basically Tom Cruise is good, but everything else is just meh?
Probably.
What about Kobe Smulders? Is she good in the movie?
Yeah, she's really good. She's really good in this movie. And plus there are some good action sequences that are pretty entertaining to watch, but when you really think about it, it's just a sequel that really felt underdeveloped and could have been a lot better.
Yeah, probably made just for the money.
Possibly the money. But we'll get to the real money. We'll get to the real money grubbing idiot later.
Trying to.
Yeah, prepare yourself, folks. You're in for a treat. All right, my next is I'll mention. It could have had a great story if the script wasn't poorly written. It's American Pastoral.
Oh, that's. I was beginning to wonder if, based on the negative Rotten Tomato score, if my art house theater would drop it. But no, they're still going to play it. It comes there this Friday.
By that time, I'll be seeing Hacksaw Ridge,
Oh
the Mel Gibson film.
yeah,
Um,
you.
like I said, the acting by Ewan McGregor and Dakota Fanning and Jennifer Connelly is really good, and the cinematography is very well shot. And it has some intriguing moments as well. The rest of the movie was just a mess. That was the problem with the movie.
Mhm.
I mean, if it was more well directed and more well written, then it would have been one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah, this was Ewan McGregor's directorial debut.
And I can't really blame this on him. I really blame it more on the screenwriter.
Mm. All right. Well, I mean, I'll. I mean, I'm kind of still debating whether I want to see the movie. On the one hand, it had the negative reviews, but on the other hand, it has an amazing cast in it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. We'll see. How I don't know how I'll make up my mind just yet.
Okay. All right, my next is I'll mention. This is one of my most disappointing films of the year, and I know you and I are going to be in a disagreement on this one, but I'm sorry. I was very disappointed with this one. The Girl on the Train.
Yeah, I really liked Girl on the Train. I mean, granted, I read the book earlier this year, so I knew a lot of what was going to happen. There are some big changes they made from the book, but but they aren't really that big. Unlike trying to think about it. But I mean, I thought the tension was there. I thought the mystery was still there. I thought the performances were really good. It maybe it maybe came across to me as a little bit by the numbers a couple of times, but I, to me, it was a solid matinee thriller movie that I do think is quite underrated.
That's understandable. even though the positives were that Emily Blunt was terrific, Emily Blunt was terrific in this movie, and the music score was really good. This is composed by Danny Elfman, and he did a decent job with it, and it has a very good cinematography, and there are some intriguing moments in it as well. But here's the biggest problem with this movie: Tate Taylor tries to be like David Fincher, and it just didn't work.
Mhm. I kind of disagree. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this movie's a Gone Girl ripoff." I didn't feel that way. I mean, I knew, yeah, there are some similarities here and there, but Tate Taylor was trying to rip off a David Fincher. I thought he brought the right amount of mystery and tension needed for the story.
Yeah, I kind of understand where you're coming from. Yeah, but biggest problem was not only the direction but the pacing. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. See, that was not an issue for me. I thought its pacing was good. I never felt bored while watching it.
I did though, and to be honest, and I'm sorry, Alex, but it really came off as like a Lifetime movie network.
I don't necessarily feel it came off exactly like that because believe me, I've seen some Lifetime network movies where you could tell they put like zero effort into it. Here, I felt they at least put some effort into it. Like it looked at least like it was a theatrical movie. It didn't have that made for TV movie look that made for TV movies usually have.
Okay, that's understandable. All right, now my next is I'll mention. This is where I'm gonna rage hell over this one because credits. What the hell this year? First Central Intelligence, then Bad Moms, then then Storts, and now I present my most overrated film of this year, American Honey.
Yeah, I don't even think that's playing in my art house theater anymore. It was I think it I don't know if it came and it played very quickly or if they chose not to play it at all because it was supposed to come there, but I don't think it's playing there anymore. I'd have to check, but the trailer honestly did not impress me at all. I thought, man, this looks really overrated as hell because it got like showered with praise at the Cannes Film Festival, and I think it took the third place prize. But like, and they're saying it's the movie for our, yours and mine generation. I'm like, really, a movie with a girl in a Confederate flag bikini is a movie for our generation?
Bullshit.
I mean,
Bullshit.
it looks exact. It looks like it's a twin of Spring Breakers.
And Spring Breakers was my most overrated film in 2013, and one of my worst movies of that year as well. I hated Spring Breakers, and is almost like Spring Breakers, but except where Spring Breakers is shorter. American Honey as a road trip movie, 162 minutes long. It does not need to be that long. Like
There,
130 or just like 135 minutes, and it wouldn't make a fucking difference.
man. Now these two movies are 162 minutes long or so, but they needed to be that long. One is Boyhood, the other is The Last Temptation of Christ.
Exactly.
Because in those movies, not a minute of time is wasted. Richard Linklater and Martin Scorsese knew exactly what they were doing.
Yes. Yes. Now, there were some good things in it in American Honey. I did like Sasha Lane in the movie. She was good in this movie. Plus, Shia LaBeouf absolutely delivers a powerful performance in this movie. One of the most powerful performances of the year. Plus, it has a good sound. It has an amazing soundtrack and good cinematography. But that's it. This is easily the most overrated film of the year because, as a road trip film, It does not need to be 162 minutes long. Get that through your head, filmmakers.
Some people have even said it's like a 21st century version of Easy Rider.
And to that I say bullshit. I thought The Secret Life of Pets was going to be my most overrated film of the year. Guess what? This movie took the cake.
Do you think Jerome would find this movie to be pretentious art house hipster bullshit, in his words?
Yes. Yes. And just this movie. It's not one of the worst movies I've seen this year. I've seen movies that were far, far worse than American Honey, but this is easily the most overrated film of the year, hands down. And to the excuse me, to the fans that like this movie, to the fanboys that like this movie, you can come at me. You can come at me with whatever you want. I will debate your ass, man.
Man, yeah. I'm just gonna skip this one because I just it just looked all style and no substance.
Right. If there's anybody out there that like American Honey, tell me why. I will debate you on this. I will seriously debate with you. Moving on. All right. The last two before we move to my top three. Ron Howard, What Happened, Man? Inferno.
Well, I mean, I guess it's he can only do what the story in the book is about. So, but he does actually have a critically acclaimed documentary out right now called "The Beatles 8 Days a Week: The Touring Years," which has like a 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have not seen that.
Plus, it was just announced he and Jennifer Lawrence are gonna make a biopic on F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, Zelda Fitzgerald.
Really?
Yeah. It'll like explore her artistic career and her battle with I think schizophrenia because she had a mental illness in her life.
This ought to be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, now my last dishonorable mention. Okay. Well, before I move on, and there were at least a few good things in Inferno. Tom Hanks Jones and Omar Sy are pretty good, and in this movie, and the cinematography. Oh, not cinematography. The musical score by Hans Zimmer is good, but the problem was the rest of the movie was just a mess. That's all I need to say. And now for my last dishonorable mention. This actually has some decent reviews, which if you like this movie, that's fine. At least you can enjoy something that I'm not able to, but I'm sorry. I couldn't stand middle school, the worst years of my life.
I didn't even bother seeing that because it looked like a ripoff of the Nickelodeon show that I watched when I was younger called Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Well, it's not only a Ned's Declassified ripoff, but it's also a Diary of a Wimpy Kid wannabe.
Oh, I've never read those books, never seen any of those movies.
I read the books. The books were really good. And I did see the first three. I actually enjoyed the first three. But I'm not looking forward to the rest.
I don't think they're making any more Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies because now the cast is like all grown up.
Oh. Okay. Now, granted, Griffith Glock, as Rafe movie, and Lauren Graham from Parenthood, she's also really good. Plus, it is the cinematography is good, and some of the animation segments that they display in the movie, they were actually pretty good. But that's it. That's it.
I remember watching a trailer, and I thought it looked just so unrealistic. Like there was a teacher saying, "There's no creativity in my school." No middle school teacher is like that. I mean, like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, that show certainly got a little bit goofy, like a lot of Nickelodeon or Disney shows will do, and you can tell it's just Hollywood fiction in some aspects, but there were actually a lot of things about middle school that Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide actually portrayed accurately. From bullies
Yes.
to stress about homework to peer pressure with friends. I mean, that kind of stuff happens in middle school to everyone.
Yeah, and even to people in real life.
Yeah, so like like this movie honestly looks like it was a made for TV movie that should have just aired straight on Nickelodeon or the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
I mean, I've probably seen Disney Channel original movies that were probably better than this movie. Hello, Nick, are you still there? Nick? Hello? Oh boy, I'm not sure if Nick's frozen or I don't know what's going on here. Oh jeez. Nick? All right. Well, Nick just messaged me on Facebook. He said he was experiencing some connection errors, so hopefully he'll be back on in a sec. Oh, hi, I'm still here. Can you hear me? I can hear you, Nick. I heard you. Can you hear
I,
me?
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Okay. All right. As I was saying before you got cut off, I probably some of the Disney Channel movies I saw when I was
Okay,
younger
good.
are probably better
Hear
than
me?
this movie. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Nick. Can you hear me? That's the question.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, as I was saying, before we lost connection, I was saying some of the Disney Channel movies I watched when I was younger, they probably are better than middle school, the worst years of my life. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I was done finishing what I was saying. Is there anything more you wanted to say about middle school, the worst years of my life?
Yeah, so true. Plus, one more thing I need to point out, and it's about Nets Declassified. When Nets Declassified, School Survival Guide, does a better job at what what middle school life is like.
I that didn't come through. It sounded all garbled. But oh, uh-oh. Looks like we lost connection again. Just hold on. Give Nick a chance to get back in here. Okay, there you are.
Here I am, folks. Sorry about that. Um, what I was trying to say, Nets Survival Guide does a better job of representing what middle school life is like. Your movie sucks.
Yeah. I mean, the title alone is really stupid.
All right, here we go. Let's do this. My 3 worst movies of October. Here we go. Starting off at number 3, Alex Meyer talked about this one. That's okay. I have a lot of shit to say about this one. It's Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Mm.
Jesus Christ, what a thinking. I mean, he was the guy that made Superbad, Adventureland, and Paul, and now he comes up with this piece of shit.
Yeah, it's just, like I said before, it was just really, really boring.
Well, not only really boring, but poorly constructed.
Yeah, I mean, just like the screenplay was not properly edited, but before they went into actual filming, and the directing was just subpar at best.
Well, not only was the script horrendous and the direction subpar, but the story was generic and idiotic. It like James Bond and Neighbors, but here's the problem: it does not work and it does not come off as funny.
No, it's just a lot of wasted potential we see here.
And there was absolutely for me there was absolutely nothing redeeming in this movie. You waste Zach Galifianakis and John Hamm, and not to mention, oh my God, Isla Fisher and Gal Gadot. These 2 women gave out one of the worst performances of the year, in my opinion. Not to mention the soundtrack was horrendous, and yeah, cinematography was horrible. The editing was all over the goddamn place. Pacing. Oh my God, the pacing in this movie. This was a 100-minute movie, and it felt like 4.5 hours long. That's how bad this movie was.
Like I said, it was hard for me to stay awake in the theater.
It was as Alex Meyer says it is hell.
Oh, you're doing what I did with the cobbler in our worst of 2015.
Yep.
Now that was a movie where I literally fell asleep 5 times while watching it. At least 5,
Yeah.
because the movie literally drained the life out of me.
God. Oh my God. And not only were the action sequences poorly constructed, but there are a lot of cliches in this movie. Like every spy movie cliche, every comedy movie cliche you see in this movie, they pull it off in this movie. What the fuck? Overall, Keeping Up with the Joneses, it is absolutely one of the most generic, idiotic, and unfunny action comedy films I've ever seen this year, and it's easily one of the worst movies I've seen this year. Now, granted, it's not as bad as Masterminds. I didn't hate this as much as I hated that movie, nor The Boss, Zoolander 2, 50 Shades of Black, on Mother's Day, and even my worst movie of the year so far, Dirty Grandpa. Fuck that movie. But I'll get to something even worse later. And that's why Keeping Up with the Joneses is number 3. Ladies and gentlemen. Alright. I'm about to unleash hell at my number 2.
Yep. Or it's too bad we can't mimic Vincent Price's laugh from Michael Jackson's Thriller, because that's the perfect evil laugh for this.
How's this? How's this?
That's pretty close.
It was pretty close, but hey, better close than just better to try than just nothing. Anyway, number 2. There are two things I want to give a big motherfucking the Tyler Perry fan base and the young teenage high school students that went and saw this movie. It's Boo Diarrhea Love Halloween.
Yeah, when I first learned of this movie, I said no, absolutely not. I'm not seeing this.
Jesus Christ. And good thing you avoided that, Alex. It's a good thing you avoided that because, again, Tyler Perry, you were in Gone Girl a couple years ago. What are you doing?
I read somewhere that Tyler Perry never originally planned to make a Halloween-based Medea film. He decided to make it after he heard a joke about a Medea Halloween movie in the Chris Rock movie Top 5, and he decided, well, now I should actually make a movie about that. That is literally how this movie came into fruition.
Top 5, even though you were a great, even though you were a very good movie. Thanks for at least bringing a Medea Halloween, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, and this film was number 1 at the box office 2 weeks in a row and has an audience rating of A from CinemaScore.
These people have some of the most awful taste in movies I've ever seen.
I know. I mean, Dirty Grandpa. That movie should have gotten an F on CinemaScore, yet it got a B, and The Witch got a C minus.
I don't understand.
I know because
I can understand some people who didn't like The Witch, like C.A. Cougar, Justin, Jerome. I forgot the others that didn't like The Witch. But if you didn't like The Witch, that's fine. That's fine. It wasn't made for everybody.
All right. But about the actual movie itself, just what is so bad about it?
Oh my god, everything film is wrong.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because the nicknames that Nick and I came up for this movie are just really funny.
Sorry.
You could say you were so mad that your rage broke the connection.
Yeah. Sorry about that. The connection blew out again. I fixed it though, so we're gonna get on to what I hated about this movie. The plot? What plot? The script? Awful. The direction by Tyler Perry? Awful. Awful. And oh my god, Tyler Perry as Medea. Boom, bitches! Oh my god, shut up, you freaking douchebag! I can't stand it when you're all this all the time. And let's move on.
All right.
Yeah, Bella Thorne is even terrible in this movie. The soundtrack is awful. The cinematography is horrendous. The editing is all over the place. The pacing is goddamn horrendous since this was a 99-minute film and it felt like 4 hours long. And all the jokes are horrendous. And some of the scares that they even try to portray in this movie, they were predictable. And there was even one scene, I'm not kidding, it reminded me of The Purge.
Whoa.
I'm dead serious.
Wow, so Tyler Perry's literally ripping off The Purge in this movie?
Sort of, but not necessarily. But still, it reminded me of that.
I read that they filmed this movie in only 6 days.
And that is just lazy. That is just lazy work. Because in a world where movies are supposed to take like months and months to make, here comes a piece of shit movie that takes 6 days to make. That is lazy filmmaking you're looking at, folks.
It was made on a $20 million budget, and it's already made like $53 million in just 2 weeks.
Just like Adam Sandler, his Tyler Perry's fan base is just bullshit.
And what was it? And once again, Tyler Perry did not screen the movie for critics before it came out.
Wagging finger of shame, Tyler Perry.
So basically, this means Tyler Perry knows his movies are bad. He just doesn't care. He just wants the money.
And basically, he hates critics. That's why. He has a lot of cliches. Like, if you've seen every Medea movie, you already know what he's gonna do in Boo and Medea Halloween. Are you even surprised? overall, Tyler Perry, fuck off. Seriously, stop playing Medea. It's not funny anymore. It's getting very old now. Stop it. And to the fan base that's went saw this and made it number one for the first 2 weeks, a big, and thank you to Jerome for this. I want to give out a big fucking fuck you to Tyler Perry's fan base because you are garbage. I hate this movie. I really hate this movie. You'll see this in my worst of 2016 list in January.
Oh boy.
That's why it's my number 2. The idea is there is no other film that could be worse than there is no other film that infuriated me the most this October than what I'm about to explain is my number 1 worst film of October. Here it is. This is a superhero movie. It's based on the toy of the same name and the TV shows. All right, I talked about this, and I'm with Sammy on this one. It's Matt Steele.
Mm.
But ass Steele.
Chris Stuckman gave it he did like an 11-minute rant and gave it an F.
And it well deserved to, because let me say this. Let me say this. Remember back in January when we did our worst films of 2015 podcast, and I said that worst superhero movies I've ever seen, but I said I've seen superhero movies that are far worse, such as Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, which is considered my worst superhero film of all time. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think I was going to see anything worse than Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Guess what? This fucking movie did!
Wow.
This is the worst superhero film I've ever seen in my life.
Mm. Yeah, I think, and I had a feeling this movie would not be screened for critics, and I was right. Last time I checked, once reviews did come in, it had a 0%.
Well deserved. And as I said, wagging finger of shame to the studios behind this. There was nothing redeeming in this. Go ahead.
This movie bombed so bad in its opening weekend, it came in at 11th place.
And it well deserved to. I didn't think there was going to be anything worse than Dirty Grandpa this year. Guess what? Now Matt Steele has some competition with Dirty Grandpa now. They're both tied for number 1. I am not kidding.
Hmm. But doesn't Dirty Grandpa contain more offensive material?
Yes. But the thing that bothered me about Matt Steele is that it should not have been on the big screen. It should have been at least a made-for-TV movie.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know which is worse now. I don't know which is worse. A superhero movie that has some of the most atrocious effects I've ever seen, or racist and homophobic grandpa. That's the biggest problem I have with me now. I mean, Jesus Christ! There was absolutely nothing redeeming in this movie. There was like everything in a sorry excuse of a film is wrong. The plot was very cliched and predictable. The script is very, 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 very worst scripts I've seen all year. It was poorly directed. The acting is terrible. Andy Garcia and Maria Bello. How could you waste these two? How could you waste these two in an idiotic script like this? Not to mention, go ahead.
I'm just saying that is indeed the question of the day.
Indeed, Exactly. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm starting to faint for. I'm starting to pass out for a second.
So does this movie make Fantastic Four look Oscar worthy?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I'm not kidding. Not to mention the cinematography was horrendous since they were like too much on shaky cam. The editing was all over the place. The pacing is one of the very worst I've seen this year. Since it was 88 minutes long, and yet it felt like 3.5 hours long. Not to mention there was no humor, no character development. The movie has a lot of cliches, but the biggest criticism goes to the effects. The effects. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say this. They're the worst effects I've seen all year.
Mm.
Because some of them didn't even look finished. And in this one scene, one scene, I'm gonna have to spoil what happens. Where this kid witnesses superpowers. This kid is witnessing. It looks like jizz.
Mm.
Jesus. I didn't think nothing was gonna be worse or could possibly give Dirty Grandpa some competition until I saw this movie. Now it's tied for number one with Dirty Grandpa. I'm dead serious. Overall, Max Steel was a generic, cliched, lazy, and predictable superhero movie. Of course, what was I expecting? This movie's based off of a fucking action figure. Based on a Mattel toy of the same name. And this is the worst superhero film I've ever seen in my life. Without a question.
Mm.
To all the people involved with this movie, in the words of my good buddy Jerome Latimer, I want to give out a big motherfucking you to the people who made this movie because you are garbage. I'm done. Fuck this movie. It's my number one worst film of October. Alex, you're
All right.
best.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I told you on Facebook that this would be a surprise what my best was. And it might not be the film you think it might be. Take a guess at what you think my best film of October might be.
Denial?
Yes, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
and I'm going to say this right now. Denial is now my third best film of the year.
Wow.
I still have The Witch at number one and I Am the Sky at number two, but yeah, Denial bumped Hell or High Water off the number three spot. So now Hell or High Water is at number four.
I'm gonna say this. It's hard for me to decide if Denial will be one of the best movies I've seen this year, but it's right up there. It's right up there.
Now on the surface, this movie is kind of your basic real life courtroom drama based on history, but
I'll be right back, but do continue.
but this is a very very powerful story and a true story too. It tells the story of a court case between a Holocaust denier named David Irving. He's a historian a real life historian who has tried throughout his life to portray Hitler in a good light, and by doing that, he tries to deny that the Holocaust ever happened. Well, when this one author named Deborah Lipstadt, she's a Holocaust expert. She wrote several books about the Holocaust. She criticized David Irving in one of her books, and David Irving sued her for libel. which, if you're not sure what libel means, that means deliberately making false statements in print. So David Irving accused Deborah Lipstadt of lying about him in print on purpose, which was not true, though. She did not lie about him, but David Irving, in his stupid brain, that's what he thought she was doing, so he sued her, and she was forced to go to England to defend herself in court because Deborah Lipstadt's American and David Irving is British. And so, therefore, this whole court case turns into having to prove that the Holocaust even existed.
And here's the thing. It did happen. It did happen. What don't you not understand, David Irving?
I know, and it's and as the as Deborah Lipstadt's lawyer tells her, and this becomes the theme of the movie, Auschwitz is at the very center of Holocaust belief, and it's also at the very center of Holocaust denial. So they have to use like forensics and photographs and testimony from Holocaust survivors, among other things, so to prove that the Holocaust was real. And this is not like a trial where like a jury decides the verdict. They just, the British legal system's a bit different. In this case, they have the verdict just be determined by just a judge. But thankfully, the judge in the end delivers the verdict where he agrees that Deborah Lipstadt is right and David Irving is wrong. And that's basically what this movie is about, and everything in it is fantastic. The acting is great all around. I would say Rachel Weisz deserves the Best Actress nomination at the Oscars for her portrayal of Deborah Lipstadt, and I think Timothy Spall should be nominated.
Say so too.
I think Timothy Spall deserves a nomination as Best Supporting Actor, because you hate he's so effective as David Irving that you just want to punch him in the face and just like you just want to just scream at him, and you be like, seriously, this is the most hateful real life person I've seen on screen since Michael Fassbender's character Edwin Epps in 12 Years a Slave.
Exactly.
Like it, and like you like, and like in the trial when they reveal just how racist and anti-Semitic David Irving is, your jaw will drop. You'll be so disgusted you just can't believe that he even exists as a person.
Exactly. That racist bastard.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine a special place in hell for him when he dies, because he's still alive right now, I believe.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and Tom Wilkinson is also very good as one of Deborah Lipstadt's lawyers, and so is the other actor who played the other lawyer. I forgot what his name was. The actor who played the judge, he was very good. I believe the actor's name is Alex Jennings. He was also in that movie with Maggie Smith called The Lady in the Van.
That was a very good movie. I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah, but not only is this an effective courtroom drama, it's one of the best courtroom dramas I've seen in years, but it's just a very good film about the Holocaust in general. And like that, and some of the film's most powerful moments is when Deborah Lipstadt and her defense team go to Auschwitz to gather evidence, and it's like a very cold day where there's fog and snow, and you just get the sense, like it's almost as if you can feel that the ghosts of all the prisoners who died there are like watching them, and they're in the camp with them. It's just so haunting to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, you just like, it's like Auschwitz. It stands as an empty place today, but just seeing it, it just flashes in your head just of all the horrors that went on there. It just absolute cruelty, like the world has never seen before or since. And it reminded me actually of an actual Holocaust survivor I met once in a college class who came to speak to our class. and this survivor, he actually died recently, and his obituary was in the news. But I met a Holocaust survivor once named Henry Silberstern, and
Oh yeah, I heard of this guy.
he was sent to Auschwitz when he was in his early teens, and he was one of the few who he actually ended up having to stand face to face with some of the worst Nazis imaginable, such as Dr. Joseph Mengele, who is known as the Angel of Death. Dr. Joseph Mengele was the doctor who would not only do sick, twisted, evil experiments on people, but he would walk up to people and point in two different directions. If he pointed one direction, you would die. In another direction, you would live and basically perform slave labor. Well, he pointed Henry towards the direction of the slave labor, and they became what was known as him and the other like 88 people that were chosen. Became known as the Birkenau Boys because they were in a subunit of Auschwitz called Birkenau, or Birkenau, excuse me, is how it's pronounced. And they had to, like, these kids, they had to stand together to defend themselves not only against Nazis but also their fellow Jews, because adults, they would be so hungry that they would actually steal food from children.
Interesting.
And one of his friends, I think, as the story goes, stole like a turnip, and a Nazi guard saw it and tried to shoot him, and he survived only because the bullet from the gun hit the turnip in his pocket.
Wow.
And Henry, as he told the story to us, the day he was liberated from the camps by Allied troops, that was his 15th birthday that he was freed.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's not the only Holocaust survivor I've met. I've met a couple others, and the kinds of stories that they tell, it's like, it's just, I mean, David Irving, he is an insult to these people. I mean, like,
Yes.
the fact that he can try and deny the Holocaust exists, and yet these people who were like kids when the Holocaust happened, but can still clearly remember everything that they went through. That is just an insult to them. How dare David Irving do this? How dare he be a Hitler glorifier?
Exactly.
And the Holocaust alone is the reason why I think Adolf Hitler is the worst, not only the worst leader of all time, but the worst human being of all time. Period.
I can agree with that. And even though they're I don't want to get too controversial, but even though there may be evil like people out there in hell, such as Osama bin Laden, because what happened. But I really don't want to tell it because it might garner some controversy. But I'm just glad bin Laden is in hell, and same thing with Hitler.
Yeah. Well, bin Laden's easily among the 10 worst human beings of all time, but Hitler, I rank him as the worst human being and the worst leader of all time because, in hindsight, it's scary just how far he came to literally conquering the entire world. Like, there's a reason why a lot of authors, when they create these big villains, there's a reason why a lot of them use Hitler as like a as the basis for that villain. I mean, J.K. Rowling has admitted that she based a lot of Voldemort on people like Hitler.
Interesting.
So yeah, I mean, denial, just just when they go to Auschwitz, it literally feels like you can see the ghosts of all the people who died there. I mean, obviously we don't see any ghosts on screen, but it's almost as if like you can feel their presence there.
Exactly.
and the way yeah, just yeah, I mean, this is definitely a very powerful film. I mean, if you're a history buff, then you owe it to yourself to see this movie. if you want
Exactly.
like a good courtroom drama, you definitely owe it to yourself to see this movie. I don't know how well this movie's going to do with the Oscars, just because there's so many other contenders that are getting a lot of attention right now. But hopefully, at the very least, I'd like to at least see Rachel Weisz and Timothy Spall be nominated.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, so that is why Denial is my third best by best film of October and my third best film of the year so far.
That is really interesting that it's your third favorite movie of the year so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just knocked me over, I guess, with how powerful it was.
You know what? It knocked me over as well. I mean, I remember seeing it last a couple weekends ago, and I was blown away how powerful it was.
Yeah.
You'll see that on my best list very coming up right now, but right coming up soon. But I got to do some honorable mentions. So now that we got the worst out of the way, and Alex Meyer explained his best film of October, I think it's time for me to explain my favorite films of October. Explain three of my favorite movies of October. I have five honorable mentions. Is is one of the most gripping thrillers. Is one of the most well crafted and gripping thrillers of the year. Deserto.
Oh, Desierto. Yeah, it's
I know some people didn't like this movie. I know some people weren't didn't like this movie, and but actually, I consider it one of my most underrated films of the year.
yeah, it's actually Mexico submitted Desierto as their entry to the Oscars this year for best foreign language film. I don't know if it'll be nominated, but that's the film they've chosen.
Probably not. My next up is a music documentary on the band Oasis called Oasis Supersonic.
Oh yes, I mean I didn't see that film, but I know very much about Oasis. I mean I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a super fan of them because I don't own any of their albums, but I've heard their songs on the radio since I was in elementary school, and I'm very well aware of their of their critical acclaim and the history of themselves as a band, particularly the contentious relationship between the brothers Liam and Noel Gallagher, and how they were always fighting to be the leader of the band because Liam thought he was the leader because he was the singer. Well, Noel thought he was the leader because he wrote the songs.
Right. That's
Given
why I
how
haven't heard of the band Oasis until I saw this documentary.
yeah, well, they broke up in 2009 after Liam and Noel got into like a physical fight backstage or something.
Jesus.
Oh, like I said, these brothers have a very contentious relationship. They would get into fights. It's amazing they could even tolerate to be in the same room with each other and for so long because Oasis they were banned for like 16 years or so. They released like 8 or 9 albums in 16 years.
All right. So my next honorable mention, um, after what happened with the darkness this year, Jason Blum finally redeemed himself with two movies that are on my list. It is a Western film, which is In the Valley of Violence. Hello?
I can still hear you. I heard you say In a Valley of Violence. Oh, jeez. All right, hold on a sec, folks. Let's Nickel get himself back in.
Hello.
Hi, I'm still here. You were saying In a Valley of Violence was your another honorable mention?
Yes.
Okay, and then
Yes. This is a Western film starring Ethan Hawke and John Travolta. And it's one of the better Western films I've ever seen this year.
cool.
And then my last, and then next up, this is a prequel to my worst movie of 2014, which tied with Transformers: Age of Extinction and Turtles.
Oh, ooh. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry for the technical issues, folks. Anyway, yeah, my next one is In a Valley of Violence, one of the better Western movies I've seen this year. And this was a prequel to my worst movie of 2014, which tied with Ninja Turtles and Transformers: Age of Extinction. It's Ouija: Origin of Evil.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen either Ouija movie, but even though I know this one got like a much better critical score, it got the same audience grade from Cinema Score, which was a C.
Which I really don't understand. Well, I can understand for C.A. Cougar because he didn't like it, but I respect his opinion. I respect his opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Ouija: Origin of Evil. Now, granted, it's not my best horror movie of the year. I've seen two horror movies like that are even greater, such as Don't Breathe and The Witch. But
Hmm.
I would say it's one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Last honorable mention, this is another music documentary. Jim Jarmusch, who's coming up next, whose next project he's coming up with is Patterson, starring Adam Driver, which I'm really looking forward to that movie. This time he's giving us another music documentary. This is on the Stooges, the band The Stooges, called Gimme Danger.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard about this one too.
And honestly, just like Oasis Supersonic, it's one of the most entertaining documentaries I've ever seen this year. All right. Well, here we go. My three favorite films of October. All right, number three. As much as I love this movie, I have to put it at number three because honestly, I love these two films more than this one. Certain Women.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this one. I don't know if it's going to come to my area though.
Um, Now this movie is not really made for everybody, to be honest, because even though the critic score is fantastic, Peter Travers of Rolling Stone names this movie one of the best he's seen this year. Even though the critic score is fantastic, the audience score is at a rotten score right now. It's at a 52 for the audience. But to me, I watched this on online, and to me, this was one of the better movies I would see this month.
Hmm.
This tells the story of this tells three short stories about these certain women. One's played by Lily Gladstone. I forgot Michelle Williams. The other I meant to say the other is played by Michelle Williams, and the other is played by Kristen Stewart. And all the actresses are fantastic in this movie. And this is directed by Kelly Ricard, who directed Meets Caught Up, which I didn't I didn't I didn't I didn't like Meets Caught Up, to be honest. I thought it was just really bland. But I did enjoy Night Moves with Jesse Eisenberg. That was really good. And this might be this director's best movie she's ever done.
All right.
You see, this might. Go ahead.
I said all right. Like okay. There wasn't anything else I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, this might not be a film for everybody though, because if you're not interested in the three short stories that are based on that is really about certain women in their everyday lives, you might not enjoy this movie. That was the only problem I had with the film. But other than that, this movie was terrific. The story was fantastic. It was well written, well directed. The acting is terrific. Lily Gladstone, Michelle Williams, Laura Linney, and yeah, Laura Linney's in this movie. She's fantastic, and Kristen Stewart is also fantastic in this movie. Plus the soundtrack is good, very well shot. It's well edited. It's well, and there are some there's some good humor in it as well. So, Certain Women, I think it's one of the most powerful indie dramas I've ever seen this year, and it's one of the better movies I would see this year as well. And that's why it is number 3. All right, number 2. This is surprisingly not a number 1 because of how much I love this movie, how much I really love this movie. I mean, granted, it is one of my favorite movies of the year, but I got to be honest. This film is a one and done film for me. I know some people were disappointed in it, but to me, this lived up to the hype, and I think it's one of the best movies I've seen this year. Yes, it's not as great as 12 Years a Slave, but there's no denying that I really loved The Birth of a Nation.
Mm. I saw that. I just saw that movie recently, and it was very good, I thought. But I did think in the first part there were a lot of slow moments that honestly almost made me fall asleep at one point because I did feel it started to get very slow and sluggishly paced. But I won't deny that the second half it really picked up, and like the last 30 minutes were really powerful. And I thought the ending was one of the most powerful endings of the year. And the acting is very good, and I thought the cinematography and the score were excellent. Like those would be the 3 things I would think are the most Oscar worthy. The costumes I meant, the cinematography and the score.
Costumes. Yeah, and
the
score.
The acting was good, but I don't see anyone like Nate Parker or Armie Miller. Armie Hammer, excuse me, or
Hammer.
Penelope Ann Miller getting Oscar nominations for their performances.
I understand. To me, I actually love this movie. Yes, some parts did feel a bit slow, and this is not this year's 12 Years a Slave. 12 Years a Slave was a very powerful film. It showed everything that these poor people were in, and that's why it was my favorite movie 2013. While The Birth of a Nation is not one of the very best movies I've seen this year, I won't deny that it's one of the best. It's one of the best. Like, it's not like the best movie I've seen this October. I'll get to what my favorite film of October is in just a bit, but yeah. To me, this movie had a great story. Script was very good. It was fantastic in my opinion. I thought it had a great direction by Nate Parker. Great acting as well, especially by Nate Parker, Penelope Ann Miller, and Armie Hammer. And what else? What else did I like? Oh yeah, and the musical score by Henry Jackman was excellent, especially um also the cinematography is fantastic. It's one of the most well shot cinematographies of the year, and it's very well edited. Very well edited. The costume design I think is Oscar worthy. The ending is one of the most powerful endings of the year, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this was a good movie, but I don't think it'll appear in my top 10 or even in my honorable mentions. It'll just miss it. I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Understandable. It might be in my honorable mentions. Like it might like make the top 20.
Mm.
I don't think it might make the top 20. I still won't deny that it was a fantastic movie, though, in my opinion. So that's the main reasons I want to on why I love The Birth of a Nation is the main reason why The Birth of a Nation is my number 2. And now for my favorite film of October. You will be surprised that this is my number 1 because this is one of those movies where the more I thought about this movie, I really loved it. And here it is. Denial is my favorite movie of October.
Wait, what's your favorite movie? I didn't hear it.
Denial.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I could I thought I could read that on your lips, but your audio was out of sync with your mouth, so I didn't hear that at first. But good, good.
Yeah, this was one of those movies where the more I thought about it, the more I really loved it.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it was just like what could have been just like a simple courtroom drama was a very turned into a very powerful movie.
Exactly. And pretty much what Alex Meyer is playing is pretty much what I really loved about this movie. Like, it was fantastic. It was well written, well directed by Mick Jackson, who did L.A. Story, the Steve Martin film.
And one thing I forgot to mention earlier, uh, you know who like as I was as I was watching this and I saw Timothy Spall as David Irving, I couldn't help but notice just how similar he looked to Donald Trump.
It's exactly. We're not gonna talk about politics in our podcast.
I wasn't going to do a political discussion. I was just pointing out that Timothy Spall looked similar to Donald Trump while playing David Irving.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of the acting, Rachel Weisz absolutely delivers one of the best performances of the year. I think she deserves a Best Actress nomination, in my opinion.
Mm.
Like Michael Fassbender in 12 Years a Slave and Jennifer Jason Leigh in The Hateful Eight, Timothy Spall absolutely delivers a powerful performance as David Irving because he plays a real life person that you would love to hate. Not to mention, the musical score by Howard Shore is absolutely fantastic. Well shot, it's well edited, it's well paced, and the courtroom scene, I gotta say this, it's one of my favorite scenes of the year, hands down.
Mm. But which one of the courtroom scenes? Because there were many of them.
I think
Was
the one about the Holocaust. Well, I know there were many, but I would say the Holocaust debate.
okay.
That was easily one of my favorite scenes of the year.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many good scenes in this movie. It was hard for me to pick an absolute favorite.
Yeah, well, that right there I just explained. That's one of my favorite scenes of the year, hands down. Yes, and so overall, my overall judgment on Denial. Denial is absolutely one of the most powerful courtroom dramas of the year, And just like The Birth of a Nation to me, this is one of the most important films of the year, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
You will easily see this in my best of 2016 list very, very soon in January.
Same here.
And that's why Denial is my favorite movie of October.
All right.
I love this movie, and I can't wait to see it again.
All right, so that is our best and worst. Now, in honor of Halloween, we are going to move on to a special segment where I am going to reveal and Nick is going to react to Watch Mojo's top 10 horror films of each decade, as well as the top 10 horror films of all time.
Okay.
All right, so the first decade, well, actually, the first list is 4 different decades combined into one. Films of the 1920s to the 1950s, because there weren't many horror films in each specific decade, so they combine all of them together for that one. All right, so first we begin with the honorable mentions, and we have The Mummy, Boris Karloff.
Oh yeah, that movie.
The Thing from
That was.
Another World.
I don't think I heard of that.
It got remade in 1982 by John Carpenter as The Thing.
Oh. Okay,
So,
I
so,
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
so this is the original film, technically. Next is Them. Have you heard of that one?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's the one with the
Yes.
giant ants. Then
Yes.
the Phantom of the Opera.
Yes. I heard of this one.
This is the silent film version of the Phantom of the Opera, not the more recent one based on the musical. This is the
Right.
pre-musical version.
Right.
The Blob and Cat People.
I
All right.
and I heard it. I really enjoyed The Blob. And
All
I
right.
heard of Cat People.
All right. Number 10, The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I heard of this.
Number 9, House of Wax.
That's the one I also heard of. I did see the remake though, and the remake was garbage.
Yeah. Well, the remake pretty much has absolutely nothing to do with the original in terms of plot or characters or anything. But the original,
Right.
the original is iconic because it features legendary horror movie actors ever, Vincent Price.
Right. Right.
Number 8, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I don't think I heard of that.
It's a silent film.
That's why.
Number 7, The Wolfman.
That's the one I heard of. I actually enjoyed that one.
Number 6, The Fly, the 1958 original.
Very, 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 very good version.
Also starring Vincent Price, by the way.
What a coincidence.
Should be seeing quite a number of remakes as we get into later decades, and so just want to give a heads up there. Number 5,
Right.
House on Haunted Hill.
House what?
House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah, yeah. The original's fantastic.
Number 4, Nosferatu.
I heard of this one. Never saw it.
Oh yeah, it's number 3, Frankenstein.
Yes, that's a great one.
Number 2, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1956 original.
Very good movie.
And number 1, Dracula.
Ah, yes, yes. Love that one.
The one with Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
All right, next we move on to the top 10 horror films of the 1960s. The honorable mentions are The Pit and the Pendulum,
Heard of this one?
Whatever
Never saw it.
happened to baby? Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Heard of it? Never saw it.
The Last Man on Earth?
I don't think I heard of that one.
And Cape Fear?
That's the one I heard of. I only saw the Martin Scorsese one.
This is the original, though, with Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum.
Right. I never saw the original though. I only saw the remake. That's what I meant.
Yeah. All right. Number 10, The Haunting.
Yes, very good one.
Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, The Haunting is like one of his favorite movies of all time. It's one of his favorite horror movies.
Yeah, and once again, the remake is garbage.
Yeah. Number 9, Black Sabbath.
I heard of this one. Never saw it.
Number 8, Village of the Damned.
I love that movie. It was very haunting.
Number 7, Peeping Tom.
Heard of it, never saw it.
This movie was a big influence on Martin Scorsese.
Really?
Yeah. This was also, Peeping Tom also appeared. Peeping Tom is one of those interesting movies because critics hated it when it first came out. They felt it was too disturbing, and they felt it like lacked a moral. They felt it lacked any moral storytelling.
What? That didn't
Well,
make any sense.
but keep in mind, Peeping Tom came out in 1960, when before that, no film ever showed a man killing women and filming them while he was doing it.
Oh, okay.
So critics were disgusted by seeing that on screen, but nowadays, many critics hail Peeping Tom today as a chilling portrayal of being a psychopath.
It's exactly. Okay.
6, Eyes Without a Face.
Never heard of it.
It's a French horror film.
Okay.
Number 5, The Innocents.
Never heard of it.
Number 4, The Birds.
I love that movie. Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah. Number 3, Night of the Living Dead.
Another good one. I love that one.
Number 2, Rosemary's Baby.
I love that movie.
And number 1, Psycho.
Psycho. Is number 1 Psycho.
Yes, I just said that.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
All right, so that is the 60s list. Now we move on to the top 10, their top 10 horror films of the 1970s. All right. So here are their honorable mentions. Black Christmas.
I heard of it. Never saw it though.
The Wicker Man, although I'm surprised they didn't put The Wicker Man in the top 10.
That's the British version. And I love the British version. I love the British version. The remake though can kiss my ass.
The Amityville Horror.
I heard of this one. Never saw it.
The Tenant.
Another film I heard of. Never saw it.
And The Hills Have Eyes.
That's another film I heard of. I just never saw it.
All right. Number 10, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 remake.
Yes. Love that movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 9, Suspiria.
Never heard of it.
I think it was an Italian horror film. There,
That's
it was just announced that they're going to
that's
make
why I
a
never heard
they're going to do a remake of this starring like Chloe Grace Moretz, Dakota Johnson, and Tilda Swinton, I think.
I heard what a dumb move that is.
My guess is they're only doing it because most people probably have never heard of the original Suspiria.
Probably.
All right. Number 8, Dawn of the Dead, the 1978 original.
Great movie,
Number
but hard to
7,
watch at times.
Number 7, Carrie.
I love that movie. I love that movie, but the remake can kiss my ass.
Does not show up in the 2010s list.
Good.
Let's see. Number 6, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Movie. Great one.
Number 5, Alien.
Yes. Love that movie.
Number 4, Jaws.
I love that movie.
Number 3, The Omen.
Another movie I love.
Number 2, Halloween.
Yes, and is number 1 The Exorcist?
Yes.
I knew it.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Film critic Mark Kermode, The Exorcist is his favorite film of all time. He says he's seen it over 200 times.
Wow. And that movie's very hard to watch at times, dude, because of its exercise of like exorcism.
And Mark Kermode says he experiences something new every time he watches it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Now we move on to the top 10 horror films of the 1980s.
Oh boy.
Honorable mentions.
Here we go.
Fright Night, the 1985 original version.
So I own that one, and I watched that one. It is a classic. It is a great movie.
The Howling.
Heard of it. Never saw it though.
Reanimator.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
And Day of the Dead.
Heard of it. Never saw it.
All right. Number 10, Hellraiser.
Great movie.
Number 9, Child's Play.
That's actually one of my favorite movies of all time, to be honest.
The guy who voices Chucky in that one, Brad Dourif, he played Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yeah, Brad Dourif also played the character of Billy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he got an Oscar nomination for that.
That was a great movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and his performance in that film was fantastic.
Number 8, Poltergeist.
Movie. I love the original. The remake, as I said, can kiss my ass.
Number 7, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
That's a very good one. Very good one.
Number 6, Friday the 13th.
Good, but I won't. I don't think it's one of the best.
Number 5, An American Werewolf in London.
I love that movie. Love that movie.
That was the very first movie to win the Oscar for Best Makeup.
And in my opinion, I think that deserved to, because how they handled the makeup in An American Werewolf in London is fantastic.
And the makeup done in that movie was done by the legendary makeup artist Rick Baker.
And he did an amazing job with that.
Number 4, The Fly, the 1986 remake starring Jeff
Another great,
Goldblum.
another great one. I love that one. As I said,
I
I
know.
never saw the original. I only saw the remake.
Yeah, yeah. The interesting thing about this movie, because it stars Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. You know, they were playing lovers in the movie. They became lovers in real life while making that movie.
Really?
Yeah, and they even got married, but they ended up getting divorced though. But I hear they're still friends with each other. So,
Oh, okay, good.
oh, and I know Jerome's not a fan of David Cronenberg, but he said The Fly is one of 2 David Cronenberg films that he actually likes.
And I'm actually a fan of David Cronenberg.
Yeah. Let's see. Number 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Great movie. Great, great movie.
That was one of Johnny Depp's first movies.
Yeah.
Number 2, The Thing.
Okay. Okay. The Thing is fantastic, but is number 1 The Shining?
Yes.
Yes. Love that movie. One of the greatest movies ever made.
Although, of course, interestingly, critics didn't like it when it came out, and it got several Razzie nominations that year. First director for Stanley Kubrick.
Bullshit choice. I
Apparently,
know this was back then, but still.
I read that the scene where Shelley Duvall swings the bat, Stanley Kubrick made her do it 127 times before he was satisfied.
Wow. That's
Apparently,
interesting.
that's a Guinness World Record. And then the
Hey,
scene, yeah,
go ahead.
never mind. Okay, and then, well, actually, oh yeah, and the scene where the chef is walking across the snow just to go inside, Stanley Kubrick made him do that 40 times.
Jesus.
Yeah, he would say, "Oh, you walk too far left. You walk too far right." The scene where he was in the freezer talking to them about the food, Jeff, Dick talking to Wendy and Danny. That scene, Stanley Kubrick made them film it 85 times.
Wow. Oh, one more thing. I one more thing I need to say before we move on. Um, The Shining is one of my all-time favorite movies, but if you have not seen the video called The Chickening, I would recommend you check that out because it is a parody of The Shining, but what you're going to get is something very funny. The Chickening.
All right, now we move on to the top 10 horror films of the 1990s, and the honorable mentions are Stigmata,
Good, but not great.
Cube,
Cube?
yeah,
I don't think I heard of that.
Faculty,
That's the film I heard of. Never saw it.
Tremors,
Very good movie.
and this last one, I call bullshit on this one being in the honorable mentions. This one should be in the top 3, Misery.
Misery in the honorable mentions. Are you fucking serious?
Unfortunately, I am, but it should be in the top 3. I mean, Kathy Bates won an Oscar for that movie, and well deserved. I mean,
Yes.
the American Film Institute put Annie Wilkes on their top 50 movie villains of all time.
And it what and she well deserved to be on there.
And Stephen King himself has said that he thinks Misery is one of the best movie adaptations of his books.
When you made Stephen King say that, you know why Misery is a great movie.
And you know who directed this movie? And you might not believe he directed it based on some of his other movies, but this is one of his best movies, in my opinion. Rob Reiner.
Yes, Rob Reiner directed this movie.
So this is the same Rob Reiner that directed The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally.
Those are great movies, but on the downside, he directed North.
Yeah, but Misery only in the honorable mentions. That Mojo, shame on you.
Shame on you! Seriously!
All right, now for their actual top 10. Number 10, Candyman.
That movie was fucking creepy as hell. Jesus.
Number 9, Ringu.
I heard of this movie. I heard of this movie. Chris Stuckman actually reviewed this one and gave it an A.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Ringu is the original Japanese horror film that was remade in America as The Ring.
Yes.
Number 8, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Heard of it, never saw it.
Number 7, Bram Stoker's Dracula. The one with
That's a very good
and,
one.
and Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, I think. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. All right.
I really enjoyed that one.
Number 6, Army of Darkness.
Very good one.
Number 5, Brain Dead.
Brain Dead?
Some in some areas it's known as Dead Alive. It was one of Peter Jackson's earliest movies. It's considered to be one of the goriest movies of all time.
Jesus.
Yeah. Number 4, The Sixth Sense.
Great movie. Great movie. And that was M. Night Shyamalan's film.
Number 3, and I'm sure a lot of people may be upset that this is number 3 and Misery is in the honorable mentions because this film is very divisive. The Blair Witch Project.
I love that movie, but I can understand why some people may hate it.
Yeah. Number 2, Scream.
Very good one.
And number 1, The Silence of the Lambs.
Very good choice. I love that movie. The Silence of the Lambs is fantastic.
In fact, it's one of only 3 movies to win all five of the big Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay.
And a well-deserved too.
And the American Film Institute ranked Hannibal Lecter the greatest film villain of all time.
Well-deserved.
We should, to tribute that, we should do his famous hiss. Okay. Top 10 horror film. Yeah. And before we leave, once again, Watch Mojo. Shame on you for not putting Misery in the top 3.
Exactly.
Misery is one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
Same here.
And Kathy Bates delivers one of the scariest performances in film history.
Exactly.
Like if you want to see a masterclass in acting, watch her performance in Misery. Because how she goes from being very sweet and loving to being scary and psychotic in the snap of a finger, it's incredible to watch.
Exactly.
Okay, now on to top 10 horror films of the 2000s. Honorable mentions: Hostel.
That's a film by Eli Roth. At first I kind of liked it, but then I watched it again and I did not like Hostel at all.
I haven't seen it, but it's basically just torture porn, right?
Yes.
Next is
Yes.
the Strangers.
Strange Strangers? I don't think I heard of that.
It's like one of those home invasion movies with people wearing masks. I think Liv Tyler's in it.
Never heard of it. That's why.
Next is Ginger Snaps.
Another film I never even heard of.
British independent horror film or something. I'm not too familiar with it either. The Devil's Rejects.
Good movie, but not a great one.
And then this next one, I'm surprised this is not in the top 10 because I know a lot of people love this movie, The Others.
Are you serious? It's not in the top 10?
Nope.
I'm actually surprised by this one because that is a great movie.
I haven't seen it myself, but I hear Nicole Kidman is fantastic in it.
She is.
And then the last honorable mention is Trick or Treat.
I heard of it, never saw it.
All right. Number 10, Drag Me to Hell.
That's a good one.
Number 9, Let the Right One In.
That's another good one.
Number 8, The Ring.
Yes. Yes, I really enjoyed that one.
Number 7, The Grudge, the original Japanese version, not the American version with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's the one I saw, and I really didn't like. That's the one I saw with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and that was
Number 6, Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 remake, directed by Zack Snyder.
that was very good.
Number 5, Final Destination.
Good, but nowhere near in the top 5.
Number 4, Paranormal Activity.
I can agree with that. I actually love that one.
3, 28 Days.
I only like the first. I only like the first and third one. Second one I didn't like. Fourth was just garbage, and Arch ones I heard how bad it was though, and the Ghost Dimension though I did see, and it tied with The Gallows. If you remember, it tied with The Gallows as my second worst film of last year.
Yeah, I remember. Number 3, 28 Days Later.
Great movie, great one.
Number 2, Wreck.
I heard of it, never saw it.
And number 1,
I did.
this may be a controversial film because some regard it as a great film, others say it's just torture porn. Saw.
It's good, nowhere near number 1.
Yeah, my local film critic, he didn't like it. He gave it, I think, a 4 out of 10 when he reviewed it.
I would honestly give it a 3.5 out of 5. Like a 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's good, but nowhere near a masterpiece.
Well, what would you say is the best horror film of the 2000s?
That's horror film of the. Uh, I don't know.
All right, so now for the top 10 horror films of the 2010s. Now I should mention that they made this list in 2015, so we won't be seeing films like The Witch or Lights Out or Don't Breathe on here. So the honorable mentions are Julia's Eyes, Nick, are you there? Your image is frozen. Oh, oh, we lost Nick again, so hold on, folks. Sorry about this.
Hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry about that, folks. Another connection error.
All right, so for the top 10 horror films of the 2010s, I should mention that WatchMojo made this list in last year in 2015, so you won't be seeing any of 2016's horror films like The Witch or Lights Out or Don't Breathe on here.
Nor The Conjuring 2.
Right. All right, so here are the honorable mentions. Julia's Eyes.
Never heard of it.
It's a Spanish horror film.
That's why.
Piranha 3D.
3D. No. No, 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 no. I hate Piranha 3D.
Right. But I'm just talking about the first one. I'm not talking about Piranha 3 Double D.
I didn't see Piranha 3 Double D. I heard how bad it was, though, but Piranha 3D was just garbage.
Next is I Saw the Devil.
Heard of it, never saw it.
Ed Jones, the cinema snob, that was his number one best movie of 2011.
Interesting.
Next is Fright Night, the 2011 remake.
Good, but nowhere near one of the best.
And finally, You're Next.
That's a good one. But how
All
is that
right,
not in the top 10?
Oculus.
Number 10 is Oculus.
hmm
Very good pick. That was Mike Flanagan's film, and that was very good.
Number 9, The Crazies.
Yeah, that was good too.
Number 8, Let Me In.
Yeah, that was good.
This is the American remake of Let the Right One In.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Number 7, The Woman in Black.
Good, but nowhere near the top 10 spot.
Number 6, Sinister.
Very good choice. Well deserved.
Number 5, VHS 2.
I'm sorry. I don't like VHS 2. I only like the first one. That's it. Only two shorts in VHS 2 were the only good ones. The rest, I'm sorry, but VHS 2 I think is overrated.
Insidious.
What was it?
Number 4 was Insidious.
Very good movie.
Number 3, Evil Dead, the 2013 remake.
That's a good one, but nowhere near the top three.
That was pretty controversial, though. I mean, I know some people like Austin Putnam really loved it, but I know some critics like Richard Roper hated it. Richard Roper felt it was just being gory for the sake of being gory, and that it lacked substance.
I actually enjoyed it. I give it a 4 out of 5.
Mm. Okay, number 2, The Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, yes. Captain Awards, well deserved.
And number 1, The Conjuring.
Yes, yes. Love that movie.
All right, our last list. This is Watch Mojo's list of the top 10 horror films of all time.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what it is.
Okay, well done. All right. Here are their honorable mentions. Jaws.
How is that not higher?
Well, wait till you see the actual list. I think you'll like the actual list. Next is The Blair Witch Project.
Over Jaws? Come on.
This is honorable mentions, not the top 10.
Right, I know, but still.
Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Evil, what?
Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Saw.
Good one.
Next is Saw, and then finally The Thing.
Saw, I think, deserves to be lower in the dishonorable mentions. Like, I would say, like in the fifth honorable mention, along with the Blair Witch Project, and then Evil Dead 2, and then The Thing, and then Jaws. That's it.
Well, with the honorable mentions, they don't number them. They just put them in a random order.
Okay.
All right, here's the top 10. Here we go. Number 10,
So
Friday.
that surprises me that Jaws is not in the top 10 because I love Jaws.
All right, number 10, Friday the 13th.
Good, but nowhere near the top 10.
Number 9, Rosemary's Baby.
Yes, love that movie.
Number 8, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Another great one.
Number 7, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I can agree with that. Another great movie.
Number 6, Night of the Living Dead.
I can agree.
Number 5, Dracula.
Which version?
The Bela Lugosi version.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Number 4, Halloween.
I love that movie.
Number 3, The Shining.
Yes, love that movie.
Number 2, The Exorcist.
Yes.
And number 1, drum roll, Psycho.
Yes. Yes. Love that movie.
And those are all our lists. So what do you think? Do you think Watch Mojo got it right for the most part with the top 10 horror films of each decade?
For the most part, some parts just. But that's just me.
Yeah. These look like solid lists to me, but the biggest blunder was not putting Misery in the top 3 for the 1990s.
Exactly. Why wasn't Misery in the top 3?
I have no freaking idea. My
I mean,
guess is
come
the staff
on!
must have forgot.
Misery is one of the greatest movies. Is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. How is that not in the top three?
I mean, I don't know, but it's very baffling considering how that film, particularly Kathy Bates' performance, has become legendary in pop culture.
I know. Just what the hell?
Yeah. But anyway, folks, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for staying with us through all these many technical difficulties. We deeply apologize for them, and hopefully we won't.
Yeah, my sincere apologies for the technical difficulties. It's just my connection has been a pain in the ass. Alex's computer has been in the pain in the ass. Google Hangouts have been a pain in the ass. Everything.
But hopefully we'll have less errors in our next show.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. One more thing. This alternate channel for long because my strike will be expired on November 28th. So by the time we do our November podcast, I'll be back to my original channel.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah, so until we meet again for the November podcast, I'm Nick Canino.
And I'm Alex Meyer.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.